We are going to go over the 4-4-2 custom tactics and roles. Now, the 4-4-2 is very effective because you can attack in that 4-4-2 with two strikers and your left mid and right mid as inside forwards, helping join the attack to create an attacking four. But also defensively, you're quite compact in that 4-4-2. It's an amazing system for trying to press the ball and being a bit balanced, but also being quite attacking. Compared to the 4-4-1-1, you don't have that cam, you have those two strikers. So let's talk about the setup, how I'd recommend setting up for your playstyle, and what you should change depending on your gameplay. We saw, for example, someone get 50-0 with a bronze team with a 4-4-2. I would typically go with one striker on poacher, one on advanced forward. The reason why is I like two different types of movements. If you like to do first time through balls, the poacher is one of my favorite roles for the striker, but they're always getting behind. When I have two strikers together, one of the key reasons why you may use a 4-4-2 compared to a 4-4-1-1 is that you have two strikers. We know people are struggling defensively, but if that new patch comes out, remember, I still find it quite difficult against better players who got two CDMs. So I prefer to have two strikers. That way I got two CDMs up against my two strikers. And when I'm trying to rotate the ball around, it's easy for me to have two options to pass the ball to as opposed to one. So that's why I have both one on a poacher, one on the advanced forward. Two different types of movements. I really wouldn't put one on a false nine. Now for the left mid and right mid, I've gone for both of them inside forward. So when you build up, these players are going to be wide. So when you have the ball in your own half, they're going to be wide. But in the final third, that's when they go a bit inverted. They come a bit more narrow inside, and therefore they're called inside forwards because they'll try to occupy the space in between the half space between your opponent's left back and left center back, for example. I think this is the best attacking instruction to use. I think for all formations, inside forward balance is key. The most important thing with inside forward balance is now before you skip ahead, what if I told you if you join my FC school and you didn't get better after 1 month, I'll refund your money? I can say this because I've been running my FC school for many years and thousands of students join and even stay on. We go over complete in-depth gameplay tutorials showing you both the theory of something and the gameplay examples using real life examples in a structured format that's like a course. The videos on a systematic learning system teaching you everything from the core mechanics, the basics to the meta so you can get better as a whole with explanations that go beyond the scope of my YouTube channel. FC School has already started with every single tactical layout, focuses, meta cards, and learn the meta before it even becomes the meta. So come join thousands of others in a mature audience community for those looking to get better at FC25, patreon.com/nilguides, or click the link down below. Now, when you join, we already have a library of hundreds of videos, more than my YouTube channel, in fact, with new videos on FC25 getting constantly added so you'll never run out of content. The biggest mistake people do is they spend thousands of dollars on FP points every year thinking this will make them better, but it won't. But now it's time for you to make that change. Don't forget, if you don't get better after 1 month, just send me a message and I'll refund your money. That's the Nil Guides guarantee. Links down below in the description, patreon.com/nilguides. That they both come back a bit defensively, but they also attack as well. So you have that attacking presence. Then it goes to the midfield. Now, what's very important here is that we have one player on a playmaker ++. This is a player that will kind of go forward and will also enter the box. This one will depend on your playstyle. I'm going to show you a few clips here where Mariona joins the attack and goes forward. If you want, you can use playmaker. Because you don't have that 4-4-1-1 system, you can think of Mariona being like that makeshift cam to your two strikers up front. So you think of it like a 4-4-1-1, but instead of two center mids, you've got one center mid that kind of goes a bit more forward to make that virtual cam. But if you struggle defensively, you can use box to box, because the benefit of box to box is this player will be going up and down. I would say if someone's got a box to box, you ideally want someone here who's got a plus, or even better, a ++, because that will dictate the runs that they make, how quickly they move forward and backward. That would also depend on defensive awareness and attack positioning, but that's just something just to bear in mind. You can use box to box or playmaker. Personally, I prefer playmaker to make it a bit more attacking. Now for the other center mid, you might see a lot of pro players run something like this. I think this is a fantastic layout. However, the truth is, most people, 99% of people watching this video right now, if I gave you this system, you would probably struggle because you got no one defensively. It's then up to you to then bring these two players back and run back with them yourself. So what I would recommend is putting one of these players either on a deep line playmaker defend. This is the deepest center mid will sit. Don't forget, it's not a CDM, so you're not going to have CDMs here. You have center mids. The benefit of center mids, they sit higher up the pitch. I think a lot of people are actually defending a bit better with center mids because they're applying more pressure and being higher in depth. I want to go over that as well in a second. I would recommend deep line playmaker defend. However, personally, if you're asking my preference, I like Guerrero on holding. I'll just show you a couple of examples when you see when I run down the wing or I get in the final third. Guerrero, she's there in midfield so I can pass the ball to her because sometimes Mariona goes inside the box in a 4-4-2. The Guerrero, you can see like over here in this clip, she stays outside the box. She's there to run back for the counter attack, but she's also there where I can recycle the ball towards her. So it's very important at least got one player staying back, A, for the counter attack, but B, to help me recycle the ball. Now, for both the left back and right back, I've gone with fullback defend. I don't think there's any reason to have fullbacks join the attack. You already have one centre mid join the attack anyway, so you wouldn't need two fullbacks join the attack. If I really needed to bring these players going forward, I can trigger these plays. You can always trigger one of these plays in any formation with the L1 button, and that way they run forward manually. But I don't want them to make their own decisions and just run forward randomly and create a big hole in defense. Why? Because we know one of the easiest ways for your opponent to score right now is counterattacks, especially that deadly through ball in between your left back and, for example, your left centre back, the half space. That is where I feel like I'm getting destroyed the most, even if I've got good players or got a good pace. For both the defenders, I've got them on defend, and the goalkeeper, you can use whatever you want realistically. It doesn't really matter per se. I think for most people, goalkeeper defend is good, but to be honest, I'm going towards sweeper keeper, and sweeper keeper build up is kind of what I'm testing out right now. But I like sweeper keeper, but if you're unsure, just go with goalkeeper defend. Now this would be, before I go on to the tactics in the build up style, this would be, just to give you a bit of an example, it would be more of a attacking formation. You have two centre mids. This wouldn't be one to close the game out, but this is one to start the game with. Let's say you want to be on a front foot. I think better players can use this for all aspects inside the game. But let's say, for example, your 4-4-1-1 is just not attacking enough. This would be the key. One of the biggest caveats before I go into the depth is, don't forget you have no central cam. You have Mariona as that makeshift cam. But if you struggle to build up, you would still prefer the 4-4-1-1. That is why 4-4-2, although every single year it's always going to be a top 3 formation, but it also kind of excels depending on your skill level. The better skill level you are, the better this formation would be. Now, when it comes over to tactics, now I've gone with counter. What's really, really important here, I'm going to go over what player plays where and what players you should look for in terms of stats. But counter just really helps those players make runs in behind when you turn over possession, or let's say you win the ball back and you're trying to get the ball going forward. It just means getting behind. Think of this like long ball last year. It just means getting behind. Balanced is good. You see a lot of top tier players using it, but you have to do a lot of L1 triggers. I would recommend balanced. I would not recommend short passing, but I would say counter attack will be the go-to. Balanced if you're a higher top tier player. Now for the depth, I've not gone towards high. I think that's probably maybe a bit too much. What I'm finding is that balance. So 60 is the highest you can go before you go into high territory. I think balance is the best overall, both for defending, but also for holding a good line without being too aggressive. The problem is when you go into high is these players start pressing by themselves. I think I don't want that. If I'm going for an all-out attack formation or want to be a bit more pressing, I can always change it or use team press or use teammate contain inside the game. So I'd much prefer to have something like this on 60. That will be the code over there in case you want to copy it. Capital Bravo, 5 Bravo, Capital Hotel, Capital Lima, Victor, Capital Bravo, Capital Hotel, Capital Lima, 9 Tango Capital Sierra. Now, what about player choices? Now, because you have two strikers, you can go with someone like Claudina Pina. I know a lot of people don't like playing her by herself up front because you find that she can be sometimes a bit too slow because she hasn't got the pace. But I think in a two-striker formation, you can go with one player that's a bit more slower and one that's a bit more quicker. Or you can go with one that's a bit taller and one that's a bit more agile. I've gone with Dumane, a faster, quicker player, almost like a second striker who's got the pace, and Claudina Pina. When I need to, and let's say my opponent's parking a bus, I pass the ball to her, low-driven, 5-star weak foot, I'm getting those shots in behind. I ideally want one of my strikers to at least have decent passing, or she's got incisive pass. Left mid, right mid. Truthfully, I think inside forward plus plus really works well here. I think if you can't get the plus plus, don't worry. People always ask, look, should I just use winger instead? Look, there's nothing wrong with using another role, but I would rather have inside forward with no role than, for example, let's say a wide playmaker with plus plus. So inside forward is what I'd recommend. Try to get a plus plus. But the most important thing is pace, good passing, good shooting, because you're going to distribute the ball inside the box. pass the ball to the striker, and also going to shoot and run down the wing. For the centre mid, that's on holding, or if you put them on deep line, play, make a defend. Think of this like a Ramirez, a Matuidi, a Vieira. This player is purely as a holding player, a Patrick Hijaro, and then next to the person next to her, the Mariona, is going to be an attacking player. Think of this like a Bon Mati or someone like Mariona, like a Hullet player, a Reinders, someone that can do a bit of everything. In fact, Reinders is probably more of a CDM, to be honest. But if you have a De Jong Reinders combination, that could work quite well. But someone that can shoot and get inside the box and score goals, that's got technical playstyle plus, even better. I think a perfect example would be someone like Bon Mati or Mariona on a cheap end. Left back and right back, you just need pace, and defenders again, same thing. I'm still going to go the jockey playstyle. Even post-patch, you will see that you probably still need jockey playstyle, but you can get away without it. But I would recommend fast defenders here as usual. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video.
Don't forget, you want to get better F26, you can come join my Patreon series. We already uploaded a video actually yesterday where we talked about breaking through defensive lines. You ever wondered how those pro players do those in crazy through balls that go through every single time? You can learn on the Patreon series where we show you the theory, we show you how that all works. And of course, we've got so many other videos. And maybe if you just want to get better at the game in other ways, we've got defending videos, defending mistakes, how to defend, and of course this will be updated for every single patch. And of course we have everything else. We also have just one thing I wanted to mention as well. For those you just like, you know what, I just want to abuse the game. I know people just want to get the wins. We have the meta mechanics series for those that just want to implement the meta mechanics, with new videos being uploaded at this month on a daily basis. Absolutely incredible from my team. Mass thanks for helping make this possible. But don't forget, if you don't get better after 1 month, we'll refund your money. Struggling in champs right now, formations can help you, like the 4-4-2, but realistically, it's going to be your gameplay. But links down below in the description. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace.